Hello, thanks for joining us. This is an NGB video. I'm Jonathan. I am joined by Andrew Nintendo Beacon.
It's a me.
It's a him.
It is a me.
Andrew. Andrew.
Hello.
You have been playing... We should clarify your name's not really Nintendo.
It really is.
Just because you like Nintendo stuff.
I do like Nintendo.
You're not affiliated with them in any way.
I'm not affiliated with them in any way.
Just for the...
They don't own me.
No, just for the viewers out there who are concerned about any bribery going
on.
You've been playing Pokken Tournament DX.
I have indeed been playing Pokken Tournament Deluxe Edition.
Is that what DX stands for?
That's what the DX stands for.
Does it stand for the 90s wrestling collective D-Generation X?
I have no idea who they are.
Shawn Michaels, Triple H? No?
The names are familiar.
Okay.
But, you know, it's men in pants. So.
Well,
anyway.
In a way, that is men fighting, and this is also fighting.
It is also fighting, but this is Pokemon fighting.
Right.
Yeah. But there is a wrestler in it.
Yeah,
there is a wrestler. There's Pikachu Libre.
Lucha? Lucha Pikachu.
Lucha, yeah.
Something, yeah. Okay.
It's Pikachu dressed in luchador gear.
Yeah, he's got like a Mexican wrestler mask
He
on.
does, yeah. He looks cute.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so this is the Pokemon fighting game.
Yeah.
It's been developed by Bandai Namco, and it was distributed in arcades in Japan by the Pokemon Company, and Nintendo, of course, have got a port for their home consoles.
Of course.
It came out a couple of years back initially on the Wii U, but this version on the Switch is the deluxe edition, as we said. So what you're getting is the most recent version of the arcade cabinets, with all of the characters that are currently available, the stages that are currently available. It's an interesting little fighting game, and it's an interesting addition, particularly to the Switch library. I played it on the Wii U, and it was kind of fun, but I never really sort of came back to it as much as I probably wanted to. But I found myself playing it an awful lot more on the Switch, obviously because I've got to review it, you know. But again, it's one of those games that kind of highlights the strength of the Switch. Certainly in the single-player mode of this, you are kind of restricted to having to fight enemies in banks of 5 or 6 at a time. And obviously when you're kind of sitting down on your couch to do this, you know, you're looking at sort of an investment of probably about half an hour tops to kind of get through a block of opponents. But obviously with the Switch, you know, you can play a few matches, put it in standby mode, chuck it in your bag, play it on the bus, you know, go take it, play it while you're having a shit or something like that. You know, that's
crude, but I see your point.
It's the power of the Switch, and I think again it's proving that the Switch is quite well suited to these kind of short blast games. Because it's not entirely tethering you to the TV.
Yeah.
So, as I say, it was developed by Bandai Namco. It's quite an interesting fighting game in that it's
chaotic, isn't it?
It's very chaotic.
Yeah.
It's kind of taking some cues from Tekken. Obviously, the name Pokken comes from the idea that it's Pokemon Tekken.
Yeah.
It doesn't rely on complex combinations of stick and button movements like, say, Street Fighter or fighting games like that would. It relies more on you understanding how to chain moves together using button presses and sort of subtle directions to kind of get different combos and different basic special moves out there.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of other interesting things going on for it, one of which is the phase switching. So when you start a match, you start off in a kind of a sort of a tilted 3D environment, a sort of a canted angle sort of thing.
Sort of a third person over the shoulder view.
Yeah, and you have full 3D movement around the arena.
Yeah. And
in this mode, the idea is you can use it as an opportunity to collect these little glowing orbs that appear in the arena, which charge your super meter quickly. But certain moves, when they make contact with an enemy, will put you into a battle phase. Which is a 2D plane like Street Fighter, in which your moves do slightly more damage. If you also connect to put it into that battle phase, you get a significant boost to your super meter bar. So it's kind of this sort of tug of war sort of thing that you've got going on with trying to put it into and out of battle phase to try and do more damage, but also to charge your super meter bar. You also have support Pokemon, which you pick before the match. And before each round, you assign a support Pokemon to you, and they run on a timer. So you can only use them once once per timer cycle. So once you've used them, the timer will start again.
Yeah, they have to charge.
They have to charge up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can give you. They can attack for you. They can have disruptive powers that cause effects on the battlefield.
Yeah.
They can have support powers which give you your health back, which give you buffs to your attack or your defense. So it's quite tactical, although albeit quite simple in the way that it controls and the way that you kind of approach the game. So if you want to just grab it and start mashing some buttons, you can do.
Yeah.
But as you're playing it, you'll start to see where you can start to chain moves together into combos. And where you can start to, sort of get some really interesting stuff going on with the mechanics. So, interestingly, it has been a fixture in a couple of sort of pro fighting tournaments over the last couple of years, which is quite an interesting thing for sort of a game like this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it feels like a very Nintendo take on the fighting genre, even though obviously it is, it isn't necessarily a Nintendo game. It feels a place on a Nintendo console.
Yes.
It's got a fairly solid single-player campaign mode. You have to work your way up through various leagues, fighting different opponents before you ultimately fight off against a boss character. So, again, very similar to the Pokemon games. You've got to fight individual players and then take on like a gym leader they are in the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
And as you're going along, you can gain experience for the Pokemon character that you're using. You can buff their attack with stats that can be redistributed at any time to kind of just tweak how their attack works, how their defense works. And you can have different Pokemon on the go. You can revisit differently. So it's quite fluid, actually, in the way that it works, in the way that it allows you to experiment with different Pokemon and their different attacks and combinations of support characters. So it's got quite a lot of varied modes in it, even though, as with any fighting game, the core sort of gameplay loop is fairly repetitive. You jump into a match, you fight, you win or you lose. It's got local multiplayer, which can be played, interestingly, either on a single screen or on a split screen. And this is kind of where there is quite a big difference between the Switch version and the game and the Wii U version, and also, for that matter, the arcade version. In the arcade, the game is played on two cabinets side by side, so each player has their own screen.
Okay.
So when you're playing in field mode, in the full 3D movement mode, each player is always behind their character, so they're always looking into the field.
Yes.
Towards the opponent. On the Wii U, when you played multiplayer, you had one person using the pad and one person using the TV, and you had the same effect. Each player was looking behind their character.
Okay.
With the Switch, obviously, you've got a single screen, so you either either one of you has to be looking into the plane, or one of you has to be looking at the plane, which I do find can be potentially a disadvantage initially for the second player, because it's harder to judge where attacks are kind of coming at you from on the back of the field. And I think eventually you get used to it, but I think it kind of sets you off at a disadvantage. Or if you're playing split screen, you can play with the screen obviously split down the middle and the camera behind both characters, but the frame rate takes a massive hit and goes down from a fairly smooth 60 to a 30, and it's not great for a game with this kind of level of fluidity to kind of take that frame rate hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fighting games really need to be played at that sort of solid 60 to kind of get the feel out of them. If you're playing Switch versus Switch in handheld mode, that's not a problem.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So you've got various different options and ways to play. There's online multiplayer. I mean, I find it to be a curio in a way. I really enjoy playing it, but it's not necessarily a game I would say to everybody you have to go out and buy for your Switch.
No,
it's not a system seller, just as it wasn't a system seller on the Wii U. But
I mean, nothing sold systems for the Wii U.
Silence, child. But it is a fun game, and it's great. It's a great competitive game as well. With the Switch version, like I say, there's tons of more characters, including some from the recent Sun and Moon games.
Yep.
And there's tons more arenas to battle in, and some new support Pokemon to choose from. and it's a good game to kind of have on you on the go with the Switch to sort of like just pull out and have a few matches with some friends.
Yeah.
It shows the strength of the Switch as both a portable and a multiplayer, and indeed a portable multiplayer console. But if you're looking for a more traditional fighting game experience, I would probably go for something like Street Fighter, or look at one of the King of Fighter games on the eShop.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for something a bit different in your fighting, I would probably take a look at Pokken Tournament. There is a demo on the eShop at the minute, so you can kind of see if it's your thing.
Smashing.
It is a different fighting game experience, probably to what you're used to.
Yeah.
And like I say, initially you might think it seems a little bit simplistic, and a little bit too off kilter. But I think it's got a little bit of depth.
Well, I think you're right there. I think when we started playing it before this video, and I had my first couple of matches, my overriding thought was, what is going on? Yeah. There's a lot of layers to it. Layers might be the wrong word. It's just a lot happening at once. Yeah. And it made me feel very old because there's a lot happening on screen. I can't process that. But after a few matches, I started to find my rhythm with it.
Yeah, you started beating me.
Yeah, I beat you pretty good, yeah. So I think you're right. It's a good example as well of Nintendo doing this thing they seem to be doing now, where like they're dipping into their back catalogue with the Wii U and thinking, no one really played these games, but they're good, so we'll throw in all DLC, re-release them on Switch, like they do with Mario Kart 8.
Absolutely.
And that's good, because I never played these games because I didn't have a Wii U. So.
I mean, I kind of had a bit of an attitude when the PlayStation 4 came out, and there was an awful lot of ports within the first few months of the PlayStation 4's life.
Yeah.
That I kind of thought, it's like The Last of Us. This game has only just come out on the PS3. Why are we getting it ported to the PS4?
Yeah.
But with the Switch, I can kind of understand that, because, like you say, not a lot of people played these games, and they are solid games.
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, Mario Kart 8, and certainly Pokken Tournament for anyone who's interested in this kind of fighting game is something that if it's of interest to you, it's probably worth picking up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Andy, I like numbers. Put a number on this for me.
Oh, I think it deserves an 8.
An 8.
It deserves an 8. It's
a very good score.
It's at the lower end of an 8. It's not a must own, but it's certainly not a. It's hard to find faults in it because it is quite a slick game.
Yeah.
It's easy to pick up. It's not so easy to put down when you kind of get into the rhythm of it. But it's probably not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, sure. That seems fair.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good review, Andy. Thanks for joining me.
It's all right.
Thanks, mate. We'll see you on our next video, whenever that may be.
At some point.
It'll be at some point.
Well, we're heading off to EGX next week, so we will do some stuff there. Mario Odyssey, mate.
Mario Odyssey. We're going off on tangents here, but we're excited about.
We're very excited.
Mario Odyssey. All right, see you later, guys. If Ben were here, he'd say like and subscribe and all that. So,
but he's not here.
He's not here, but
we'll have to say like and subscribe.
Still, like and subscribe, share. Guys. That's what YouTube's all about, isn't it?
Share,
share, guys.
Share.
Peace and love and share. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.